Listen for a word from the Lord. Someone in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me." But Jesus said to him, "Friend, who set me to be judge and arbitrator over you?" And Jesus said to them, "Take care. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions." Then Jesus told them a parable. The land of a rich man produced abundantly, and he thought to himself, "What should I do? For I have no place to store my crops." The man said, "I'll do this. I will pull down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I will store all my grain and all my goods. And I will say to my soul, 'Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, and be merry.' But God said to him, 'You fool, this very night your life is being demanded of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be?' So it is with those who store up treasures for themselves, but are not rich towards God." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Would you pray with me? Dear God, may the word that is spoken be the word you would have feed us this week. I was on a tour at the Albright Knox many years ago, and I overheard a woman ask the docent a question. After viewing a Monet, the woman asked the docent how much the painting was worth. The docent replied, "Invaluable." The woman, thinking the docent had not understood her, said, "I mean in dollars." How do we put values on things? Is it supply and demand? Status? Maybe what the ad companies tell us will make us younger, more attractive, more successful. But what is the value of our lives? When I have preached on this text before, I have always focused on the ending, the man's storage units. He had all he needed to sustain him for a long, long life. And then that night, he dies. In this focus, in this modern telling, I see a 21st century scenario. A grieving widow is standing at the door. The retirement she and her husband planned so carefully will never materialize. She has contacted the real estate agents, asking them to come and tell her what she should list her house for. The Salvation Army truck pulls up. The man with the clipboard approaches the door. And yes, says the widow, take those books, yes, the golf clubs, and the pile of Brooke Brothers suits. You get the picture. Now, is it wrong to have nice things, to plan for the future? I don't think so. But if our possessions possess us, then we have a problem. If our sole focus in life is accumulating wealth, accumulating things, then we have a problem. If our life is all about me, 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 without thinking about us or them, then we have a problem. We can drown in our stuff. If you have ever had the misfortune to watch hoarders on television, you have a vivid picture of what it means to be swallowed whole by your possessions. Floors, tables, corners, every available space is cluttered to the point that living becomes impossible. Getting to the bathroom, a problem. Getting to the kitchen to cook, a problem. Bringing the community together, a problem, because you can't even have people over to share a meal with you. Finding a space to sleep on your bed, a problem. I don't know about you, but for me, I've been downsizing for the last 13 years, and I'm still working on it. Maybe you have that problem, too. I have too much stuff. Even based on this society, I have too much stuff. But when looking out at the poverty of the world, what I have is obscene. What are we going to do about that? How do you and I share what we have with others in a way that is responsible? How do we share with the nameless ones, the faceless ones, the ones we've never met, the ones whose names will not be read when they read your will? I spoke with Dolores Battles for a minute when I came in, and she told me the work she's doing is focusing on refugees who have disabilities. Refugees, it's a huge situation for us as a world to understand how to welcome these people. But when she said that, I said, oh, you know, I never thought of it that way. Refugees with disabilities. What if the refugee can't hear? What if the refugee can't see? You know, the bumper sticker I hate the most is the one that states, I'm spending my children's inheritance. I always think I'm going to see it parked outside of a Cracker Barrel on the way to see the Great Ball of Twine in Kansas. What is it all about? What do we need? But maybe even more than that, who are our children? And what is the inheritance we're going to leave them? Now, I have to admit, and this is not going to be political, but I have to admit I was glued to the two-night presidential debate that aired this week. Parts of it were difficult to watch, a lot of it I disagreed with, but I only mention it to highlight one candidate who I had never heard of before, Governor Jay Inslee. Now, he's one of these one-issue candidates. His only focus is the environment. He was saying, basically, if you don't save the world, you really don't need to worry about anything else. I thought, the guy's got a point. Now, I have to admit, I have come lately to the environmental movement. But since realizing the issues of global warming, climate refugees, I am all in. Rereading such works as Silent Springs, and picking up such works as The Uninhabitable Earth by David Wallace Wells. The questions it raises for me are many. What does it mean to be a good steward of God's earth? Who are our children, and what will their inheritance be? Just think about it. Everything that has ever been created and will be created on this planet is inside this biosphere. Every drop of water is here now. It has been suggested that if everyone on the planet lived as the average American does, it would take 4 planet Earths to sustain them. We may have to settle on Mars and the moon, but what will they become for us? Will they be our bonds, our storage units? It seems insane to proceed like this, but why do we do it? I guess at the core of the question is, who is the center of our universe, us or God? Are we going to rely upon ourselves only to provide for our future, or are we willing to take that leap and be faithful, using our time and talents for the benefit of everyone, trusting that God will provide a future we want to live into? I've been blessed in your congregation this morning. Lynn said to me, would you like me to pray with you? I've never had anyone ask me that before I went out and led worship. I always pray with other people. And someone else from your congregation has crossed my path And I have to say, I can't be too grateful. I am over the moon grateful. It's Jamie Owens. Now, you probably know he's quite handy with a hammer and a nail. Well, he has been my answer to prayer, as I have zero, make that negative ability with tools or anything mechanical. Now, on the first day he came to my house to work, he provided a testimony. I don't think he would call it that, but I would. He told me about how he and Susanna came to Orchard Park Presbyterian Church, how Dick and Linda recognized something special in him, and they guided him. Now, I bet it wasn't gentle, but I know it was persistent. And they guided him into using his God-given talents to further the kingdom of God on earth. That's what I'm talking about. See, you search for meaning, and you say yes to God, and then put on your roller skates because you're going for a ride. It has resulted, you're an elder, right, Jamie? Okay, he's an elder. He's a board member of Family Promise, thanks to Miss Linda back there, and a volunteer who helps build homes for people who lack the basic necessities for life. Jamie has an incredible talent, but he doesn't use it all just to build a bigger barn so he and Susanna can store up everything for themselves. No, he's out there making sure that God's children have a place to lay their head and a chance at life. A chance at life where they too can recognize the gifts that God gave them and contribute for all of us in a meaningful way. So what's the lesson for this? I am never going to be someone who can use a hammer. But we all have gifts. Maybe you're not a rich person with the best of everything. Maybe you don't have the particular talents of someone else. Maybe you're already doing a lot right here because your congregation does a lot. I see you started an Alzheimer's group for respite. That's fantastic. Well, if you're already doing and working to the max, I would say, God would say to you, bless you, good and faithful servant. But if you're like me and you could do better, I want to challenge you this week to look at your life. Do you possess too many items that your neighbors in Western New York could use? None of us needs to have 4 winter coats. And in the summer, we tend not to even think about it. But the cold will be here before we know it. Go through your closets, get them together, donate them. If you quilt, make a quilt of valor for a veteran. If you like to dig in the dirt, plant a tree. If you do taxes, volunteer with a group in the city to help underserved communities at tax time. If you like to drive, maybe you can deliver Meals on Wheels. You can donate to the Presbyterian Disaster Assistance Agency or any other agency of your choice. But no matter what you do, pray. Pray for guidance so that you will know and recognize your gifts and you will understand how to use them so that they bless all of God's children. Whatever gift God gave you, you are needed to help make this world a place where God's children will live with hope and not despair. And then, my friends, when the day arrives that we are called home to God, the focus won't be on what are we going to do with this bond that he left or she left. What are we going to do with all the goods they never had a chance to use? Rather, the focus will be on all the good you did with what you had. Amen.